Six Finger Sam is a barrel-aged saison. So we did a 6%-ish pale beer, lightly acidified it in the brew house, fermented it with our very expressive Belgian saison yeast, and then threw it in freshly dumped Chardonnay barrels where it aged for a few months. And at that point, we added a couple of strains of wild yeast to it, Brettanomyces, which funkified it, added a new dimension to it. You picked up a lot of Chardonnay flavors, and then when we pulled it out of the barrels, we blended it off with another funky beer, another Brettanomyces fermented beer, and then conditioned it in the bottles, or for the limited draft we have, conditioned it in the keg, so it's all naturally conditioned, and it's a pretty cool beer. Well, beer has generally 4 ingredients: water, malt, hops, and yeast. And adding oak barrels adds another dimension, a 5th dimension to brewing beer, and it adds various flavors of oak tannins. It allows for a certain amount of oxidation to occur with the beer, which, when you're lucky, creates pleasant flavors. And it's a good vessel to hold some of your wild yeasts, whether it's Brettanomyces or Pediococcus, Lactobacillus, things like that. And then if you're really lucky too, and you get a freshly dumped barrel, like the Six Finger Sam that we're releasing was aged in freshly dumped Chardonnay barrels, you pick up the flavors of whatever was in that oak barrel previously. If it's a bourbon barrel, you'll pick up bourbon flavors. A wine barrel, you'll pick up those wine flavors. Well, yeast is responsible for most of the flavors that you taste in beer. Malt, there are differences, but they're very minor. Where strains of yeast, there are literally thousands of strains of yeast that give you unique flavors to the beer. Whether it's the clean yeast we use in our IPAs, some of the more expressive, funkier Belgian yeast that we use in our saisons, or the wild yeast like the Brettanomyces that we use in some of our barrel-aged and our collaboration beer coming up. That gives you funkier, barnyardy flavors.
Well, Six Finger Sam was quite a character in downtown Easton during Prohibition. He was a concierge of the carnal delights of Easton. He was born with a 6th finger on his left hand, which he later had removed in life. But Sam was one of what they called the runner boys, who would meet gentlemen at the train station who were coming into Easton to enjoy either the liquor, the gambling, or the prostitutes that were all prevalent in Easton during Prohibition. So Sam would meet one of these visitors from out of town, and he would jump on the running board of the taxi, the old 1920s cars, and he would point out to the customer which bawdy houses had what things on the menu. And so he also had a way of ensuring repeat business. When they left the train station, he would take them on a circuitous route to get to Pine Street, so that they wouldn't know that Pine Street was only a couple blocks from the train station. And by doing this, by taking them this weird way to and from Pine Street, he ensured that every time that they came back to town, they needed to find him to find what they wanted here. So that's one of, he's one of the characters that comes out of that very colorful time in Easton. And we're going to have some more beers named after some more folks that were around then. One we already used was Jack Buckles. And Jack Buckles ran a gang of thieves during Prohibition, and they would go into either a bawdy house or a speakeasy at the end of the night, and they'd rob everybody who was still there. And finally, Jack Buckles ended up being executed gangland style in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. So his life of crime caught up with him. And actually, the Jack Buckles beer, it's a Belgian strong dark ale, that's going to be our next bottle release coming the end of the summer.